Welcome back to Python MC, and we're going to review the challenge for creating a play method, where we want to create a play method that merges insertMedia, fitMedia, and makebeat functions into one single method called play with some default or optional arguments. So we have this class media. It has a constructor method with self.sound equals sound, self.track equals track, and then it has this play method, which is just a placeholder that's meant to let the programmer know that they need to write the play method for this type of media or throw an error. So we created beatlist. Beatlist is a child class of media, so it inherits the constructor and it inherits the play method, but then it overwrites that play method. So this is an example of inheritance and polymorphism. It's having one play method behave differently for different child classes. Now we also have the beat child class, which also inherits everything from media, including this constructor and that other play method, that placeholder. But now we want to overwrite it. We want to create a play function with self and start as required arguments and end and pattern as optional arguments. The end default value is 0 and the pattern default value is an empty string. And then using a conditional, call makebeat, fitMedia, or insertMedia based on which arguments are passed when the method is called. So drum_1.play, where start equals 1, that uses insertMedia to play the beat at measure 1 on track 1. If you give it start equals 1, end equals 16, it'll use fitMedia. Start equals 1 with a pattern, it'll use makebeat. So we needed to just fill in, complete this code by getting that conditional to work right. So we had to replace all those question marks. And depending on the different conditions, it'll either play makebeat, fitMedia, or insertMedia. Okay. And when we call it down here, we can see we can use the same play method for this beat, and we can either give it a start and an end, a start and a pattern, or just a start, and then it'll use either fitMedia, makebeat, or insertMedia, depending on what arguments we give it to it. So let's look at our solution. So an empty string in Python is equal to false. So all we need to do is say if pattern, and that basically is testing if pattern is an empty string. If pattern is not an empty string, that means it's true, because an empty string is false, therefore any string that is non-empty is true. So we don't have to say if pattern equals true, we can just say if pattern for short. If pattern and if pattern equals true is the same thing. So we know by default it's an empty string. And so we know if we pass it a string, that means we need to use makebeat. So we use makebeat self.sound and self.track, start and pattern. Remember self.sound and self.track, we get that from the constructor method up here. We've inherited the constructor method. So when you create a beat object, it will use that constructor method. So it'll get a sound and it'll get a track. So we can just use that. And then we're passing the values for start and pattern. So you can see right here, we call it with start equals 17, pattern equals that pattern in quotes, and we'll use that when we call makebeat. Now, if we get an end value that is greater than 0, use fitMedia. And a 0 in Python is equal to false. So same way we could just say if pattern, we can just say elif end, which really is saying elif end equals true. Because if it's true, that means it's not a 0. Because a 0 is false. So if it's something other than a 0, then we know we need to use fitMedia. So we just say elif end, fitMedia, self.sound, self.track, start and end. And finally, otherwise, just use insertMedia, self.sound, self.track, and start. And if we run it, it'll look like this. It'll be working perfectly fine. We've shown examples of both inheritance and polymorphism in Python. Hopefully you got it right. Check your code. We'll see you again on Python MC. Python MC.